Hey, how's it going, guys? Xander here. I'm gonna teach you some top 10 tips and tricks that I wish I knew when I first started playing this game. For new players mostly, I'll have some advanced tips and tricks in here as well towards the end. My goal in this is to kind of shed some light on some things in the game that I didn't know that I found out later on that would have helped me significantly, or things I simply overlooked as a new player because I was so excited about the idea of building and creating my own settlement that I just didn't pay attention or I just didn't read something. So, with that being said, let's get started. Okay, the first step is settings and difficulty. Now, the first thing that you're going to do when creating a new game is you're going to want to customize it. Now, I'll go over the stuff that I normally change to have an enjoyable gameplay, and I'll tell you the impacts. So, difficulty is a pre-setting. You can change it to easy, and it'll automatically change everything down to make it much easier on your playthrough. Easy settings get rid of things such as poisoning, temperature. You will no longer get poisoned. You will not have to worry about that, etc., etc. So try out some of the different settings. Now I'm going to go through and customize them how I normally play. The length of seasons I never change. 3 days is pretty even. It's pretty just. Don't mess with it. Get used to it. It's a pretty good setting. Taxes, you can lower this down if you're having trouble. If you're playing, you can lower this down to where you have to pay less money. Majority, almost all of these settings can be changed during gameplay but will not take effect until the next season, which I will show you briefly in a minute. Taxes is how much money you pay every spring for the buildings that you have. Building limits. This determines how many buildings that you can build. At the beginning, you're only going to be limited to like 3 to 5 buildings, and then as you do the main story quests, you will get access to more and more buildings. Events. Events are random encounters that happen every season, whether it be a storm that destroys your buildings or a merchant that challenges you and you could win money. Keeping these on kind of flavors the game up. If you don't like that, if you want a more bell curve game, then just disable this. Unlimited HP makes you not die. Unlimited stamina. Now, I always check this because I run a lot in the game, and you will not get a horse till the end game. So you will. I just I've tried playing with stamina and it just doesn't work. It's not fun. Lack of hunger and thirst. Eliminate the hunger and thirst mechanic. I keep those on because I like a little bit of a challenge, along with HP. Unlimited carry weight is something that I always have on. It makes the game much more enjoyable. You can, if you like a challenge and you like to make 10 trips when building one house, then you are more than welcome to uncheck this box. There are bags and horses and mules that you can get towards the end game, which increase your carrying weight, but you're going to spend 90% of the game overweight if you don't have this checked. I suggest always have this checked. Stamina and carry weight. Now, the food, water, and wood needs, these determine every day how much your inhabitants need. Um, you can try playing it default and then adjust as needed as the seasons change. Bandits. I'll touch on bandit camps later, but bandits are human NPCs that spawn in the game which carry loot, which are pretty decent. If you raid their camps early, you can get some good loot, and I'll touch on that later. Enemies HP. Now, I'm a Care Bear on this, but I lower the enemy's damage and HP because I typically like to play games that are city builders. I don't like a lot of combat in my games. Now this will just make the enemies easier to kill. One shot, pretty much one shot everything with 10% HP. Enemy damage with 0% means they won't harm me. I'm just there for the content. Poisoning. This, if you eat certain types of mushrooms or rotten food, you will get poisoned, which will lower your health. I keep that on. Temperature, if it's cold, you can freeze to death. If it's hot, you can overheat and die. I keep that on. Fast crafting. Now, this is something that I love that they added recently. This allows you to craft 10 spears at once rather than just one at a time. It makes crafting much faster and kind of breaks the game, but I like it. I don't like spending an entire season crafting. I've ground enough. XP gain multiplier. Now this you can jack up, and what this does is this increases the amount of points that you get whenever you gather wood, harvest, or do anything like that. You'll level up significantly faster. And also this also applies to your villagers as well. They will also gain lots of XP. They will level up their skills much faster using this. This is completely up to you. I like to max it out for a time, and then once everybody's leveled up, I'll lower it back down to 100% to kind of balance it out. I play with different variations. Now the technology gain multiplier is exclusive to the buildings that you unlock as you do things in the game, such as better housing, better hunting lodges, etc. If you want to level up and unlock those much faster, just max this out and you'll unlock them in no time. Dynasty reputation gain multiplier. Now you can raise this, but I found that the reputation gains that you gain in the game are balanced enough that you don't need to modify this at all. These two are kind of grindy, but they are moderately balanced. I would say maybe I would probably lower it to about maybe 2 to 300% of what it is for most of these for a fair game, because it can take 5 to 10 years to get to the end game stuff. Now, yeah, the last setting you have on here is stopped dropped items from spoiling. I haven't used this yet, but I know why you would use it. You would use this if you wanted to place some bowls of food on your tables. In the game, you can build tables and chairs and places for people to sit and eat. And if you want to put like bowls and stuff and just be super immersive, you can check this. I don't ever check this, however, because I like the spoiling factor, and it can be abused by, like, at the end of every season you drop all your stuff on the ground, it doesn't spoil, yada yada. Plus, maybe one day if I'm role playing and I want to make a settlement with food on the table, I'll have this checked. But if you're a role player, check it. Use it to store apples, beer, and totally flesh out your settlement. Now, I'm going to do one other thing, and I'm going to load my main save, and I'm going to show you that settings can be changed mid-game. However, they don't always take effect until the next season. Okay, so when you get into a game, you can pause it by pressing escape and go to customize game, and you can change the taxes, building limit, events, and a lot of the settings instantaneously. But when you get down to the length of season of days, inhabitants, food, water, and wood needs, whether or not bandits spawn, enemies, HP, and damage, they will not apply until after the season change. As you can tell right now, it is winter, indicated by not only the snow, obviously, but there's an icon in the top center of above your compass. It has a blue semicircle or blue half circle with or teal, if you will, and a tree that looks dead. That is winter. When it changes to spring, that's when the settings would take effect. So keep that in mind. Make sure you have enough food. If you're having an emergency, you probably best fix it rather than try and lower the settings on that, because you're just not gonna make it in time. Now, if you have trouble one season, you can change it for the next season and try and catch up. It's up to you, man. It's your game. You play however you want. That's pretty much it for the settings, and I will consider doing a more in-depth look at it at a different time. Now, the next tip that I would give you is free stuff. There's a lot of free stuff in the world, and you can find it by just simply walking or running along the roads. I'm going to take a horse to show you some of the locations where I found free stuff. And sometimes, even if you are just looking around, you'll find items that can be used in quests later. So I'm in Gostovia, heading east along the road. I know there's a broken down cart up ahead a ways. Now you'll find these carts all over the map. They're everywhere, and they will usually have tools or items ranging anywhere from stone to metal tools to beets to seeds. You can find them along the roads. You can find them along the river banks. You can find barrels and boxes. I know there's one outside of here. Let's see. We're going to go on a journey. Here we go. See this? This is what I'm talking about right here. When you're early on in the game, a stone knife and some leather can make a difference. And you won't always find stone weapons. I found iron, bronze, etc. They're all over the map. You just got to go out and you got to run around and you got to find them. That's just one cart. I'm going to show you one last location. We're going to ride there. So let's take a moment to pass by this village here. Sometimes along these riverbanks around the bridges, you'll find bags. Now, this isn't one of the bridges, but one of the other bridges, I think, all the way down the river that way, has 2 bags, and they will contain seeds for planting. It's a free way to get farming seeds without having to pay for them. I think I got oats, and I think I got 3 pear trees out of the last one that I found. Let's go I see some barrels up here. Yes, right here. This is where I got my seeds. So, all you got to do is take the time to, I already graded these, but all you got to do is take the time to run along the trails. Check out the riverbanks. You'll find tools, you'll find seeds, you'll find food, you'll find everything. And you'll also find some items that can be used to solve your quests later. Now, next one, I will go over Bandit Camps. I will go over and we'll find one, and I will show you what you can get there. Now, next up, we have the Bandit Camps. This is what a bandit camp typically looks like. In the first year or two, most of them will be abandoned, and you'll be able to come in here and you'll be able to get the valuable resources that they have. Now, a lot of times you can find stuff tucked away, like look at that. Look at that little bottle. Can I get it? I don't know if I can get it. But half the time you'll find bows, you'll find metal tools, you'll find water skins, wine, beer, mead, food. You'll find all kinds of stuff in these camps. And then after a year or two passes in game, actual hostile NPCs will spawn here if you have bandits checked in the settings, at which point these items will be here and the bandits will defend them and you can raid them. Bandits will attack you if you get too close. Also, as a benefit, all of these bandit camps and all of those little carts on the side of the road and all those barrels respawn with loot every year. So you can come back and raid these areas every single year. That is probably one of the best sources of free loot that I've ever seen. And I've gained a lot of clothing. I've got a lot of good metals tools that I can sell for money. Just give it a try. Loot these bandit camps early on and you'll walk away with some pretty valuable stuff. Now the next tip I want to show you is holding Alt. Holding Alt at the beginning of the game will highlight grabbable items on the ground. You'll start off being able to see sticks and stones and various basic ingredients, but as you gain levels and appropriate skills, you'll be able to see things such as the rabbits and everything huntable. If an animal is green, like this rabbit up ahead, that means they're passive or neutral, which means they will not attack you. See that? If you see an animal that is red, it will attack you when it get too close. There is a boar over here. You should be able to see. Here we go. Look at that. That means if I get too close, he's going to get aggressive. Wolves and bison are also aggressive if you get too close. In order to get that perk, you're going to want to go to Skills, Hunting, and take Tracker. There is a similar skill in the Gatherings tree, Survival Sense. This will highlight all mushrooms, feathers, and herbs. Now, it's winter. I don't have any herbs or mushrooms right now, but during the spring, you'll be able to see them clear as day, just as you can see all the sticks and animals now. Now, be warned that if you do not have unlimited stamina on, holding Alt drains your stamina fairly quickly. So if you're playing on normal settings, I would suggest you using this sparingly or whenever you need information. And here we go with another tip. So, what if I told you if you're starving and you're thirsty and you don't know what to do and it's the end of the season and you think to yourself, oh no, I don't want to starve if I go to sleep? Well, I want you to know that it's okay. Your hunger and your thirst don't change when you sleep in between seasons. However, this tip is twofold. Not only will sleeping to the next season like fill your food and water, but it will also magically teleport you back to your home. Now you notice that I am kind of out a ways. I'm about 312 meters from my home base, right? My house is way over there. I'm over here by a nearby broken down caravan as I was presenting earlier, and I've got my little campfire. So we're going to sleep tonight. If you notice, my food and water are about 2/3. So when I wake up, according to this, I should be in my house with full food and water. And here we go. And there we go. Full food, full water, and I'm back in my house with my lovely wife and my son, Zadar. How you doing, brother? And my glorious wife. And we're back. It's spring. Look at that. It's great. So if you happen to be starving or you're low on food or water and you're out in the middle of nowhere, sleep through a season and it will fill. But be advised, if it's not the season change, your food and water will not change. It will remain whatever it was when you went to sleep. I guess a good side of that is it doesn't go down while you sleep, but that's 2 tips in 1 for you. All right, the next tip I got for you is locations of mines and bear spawns. These kind of go hand in hand because bears typically spawn around the caves. If you just simply head east from Gustovia you'll meet a river. This is the first mine that I ever used because the river essentially leads up to it. Now you can follow the road, but I prefer to follow the river. It is a much better landmark and I get lost a lot less. So let's go up the river. If you don't have a horse, you can just run it. Now you want to go up here. So I've got it marked on my map. And once we get there, I'll show you where it is. Okay. We're back on the river. Once we reach the end of the river, we'll turn off and we'll head towards the proper. We'll have a road up here to follow. Here we go. Right here. Now, the mine should just be over the bend. I already have a mine built here, so there will not be a bear spawn. That is a very important thing. If you plan on hunting bears later, then you want to not build a mine there. I've discovered that building things tend to block spawns of creatures, and there is a particular quest from Alwyn, spoiler, which has you hunt a bear. If you don't hunt the bear, or if you build the mine, then the bear will stop spawning and you'll have to find it. And I have a backup place just in case. Here we go. Here's that river again, the tail end of it. And if you just go up here, here's the mine that I use. Now, typically there are 2 bear spawns, one on the left up on the hills and one on the right above. Here is the location on the map. It is a little nook right here. The other spot for a bear spawn is over by this lake. I'm not going to travel there. I'm simply going to show it to you on the map. Now the bear can exist along any part of this edge of this lake, so search well. The other location that I'm going to go to or show you, I'm not going to go there, is right up here above Bronica and Boronica. There is also a mine up here. Hitting these mines early with some crafted stone pickaxes can yield you amazing amounts of money. Let's go inside. Now, seeing as I've built a mine on here, it's been dug out and it's got torches. When you come in here by yourself, you will not have torches. So you'll have to bring your own torch and your own pickaxe. You can find copper, which you just mine like this. Boom, copper. You'll also find salt. Salt is used for curing and preserving your foods. Then you'll find tin as well as you go deeper, and as you go deep enough, you're going to find iron. Getting in here early and gathering all these materials can make for amazing money. Copper ore sells for 12, and while that may not seem like much right now, early in the game that can be a lot, especially if you have a smithy at this point and you can turn it into copper bars, which sell for much more. Take a look at iron. I've mined out iron constantly since the game. I have way more bars than I ever need. They sell for 90 each, so if you can get some iron out of this, you can already buy the tools you need, and one pickaxe can last you a while if it's made of metal. But stone pickaxe, they're free. Use this information as you will. You probably will not need metal tools at all if you're efficient and good at the game, but they're very nice to make money. Okay, so the next trip I have for you is food storage and spoilage. What is it? Okay, so in the game, food spoils. It goes bad over time. It's told by a condition. Now, food will still give you the same amount of food up until it reaches a certain condition. When the condition turns red, that means you'll start getting poison from it. Now, a little bit of poisoning is okay, but over time, you can't consume just poisoned items. Right now, the food I got is not necessarily rotten yet. Whenever they fully lose condition, they will turn into rot. Rot is used to make fertilizer and can be very useful if you overproduce vegetables or anything else and it goes bad. You can still kind of recycle it back into farming. And if you're desperate, people can eat the rot. Now, what do I mean by food spoilage? Well, if I were to, as I said earlier with the settings, drop this roasted fish on the ground, let's say half of it, and just let it stay on the ground. Every season, the condition will lower. Now, the same applies to food inside the chest. The difference is that condition lowers significantly lower in the chest. On the ground, it loses almost half its durability per season. And so it means by next season, by spring, this will be rotten if I leave it there. If I put it inside the chest, however, it will only lower to maybe as low as 75% rather than 0. Now, other forms of storage that you can use for food is your home. Your home storage is not nearly as efficient as the food storage, but it will work in the beginning of the game. I highly suggest if you're in the beginning of the game and you don't have a dedicated food storage like I have built here, right here. If you don't have a building like this already made, I would suggest storing all your perishables inside the box, inside of whatever home you have right now. And if you have more than one home, you can store it in there. The villagers will eat out of their home chests if they need to. But that's pretty much it for food spoilage. It will spoil if it's outside of boxes. Put it inside a box inside of your storage if you want it to last much longer. I will probably have another video later more in depth on how to prevent food spoilage and how to preserve food long term, but that just for beginners' sake, always store your food before the season changes. That is the number one rule. Store your food before season change. The next thing I want to talk to you about is managing your food and water usage. This is more of an advanced technique as some of the other ones listed, but I will show you what it is and how you can help make your settlement just a little more efficient, especially early on. So you want to go to the Management tab, and then you want to go to this little tab here, People's Demand. Now I'll use the wood to demonstrate what I'm talking about. So your people will use things from the top down, meaning I have 1,018 wood, 643 of it from sticks, 375 from planks. I have no firewood, no logs. Now, let's say I didn't want them to use the sticks, I wanted them to use the planks instead. I can block the sticks off by either highlighting it and pressing F or by clicking on it. Now, as you can see, I now have only 375 wood, which is far shorter than my demand. But they'll only use this, which means every day they'll pull planks, but they won't touch the sticks. Why is this useful, you might ask? Well, not necessarily for wood. I tend to disable logs because I want the logs to become firewood because it's more efficient. So they'll always pull firewood first, and then sticks, which I always have plenty of, I have excess, and then planks as a last resort, which is used for crafting things like buckets. This is where I like to use it the most, water. Let's say I want people to not use the vegetable soup as water because it's a food item. I disable it. It takes away this water quantity, but if I have it enabled in food, that means people will eat that instead of drinking it. A big part of this enlightenment came from milk. When I was producing milk with my cows, I would never be able to have enough milk, and it turns out that soured milk and milk are high priorities on this game's food and water. So I would always never have milk, and I couldn't understand why. So you may at some point come in here and edit what they can eat and drink. My personal favorite is to leave all the crafted food items that you can make as edible and disabling all raw materials such as cabbage, raw meat, salted meat, beetroots, eggs, stuff that ingredients that I would use. I disable them so that I can cook them into more efficient meals such as stews, porridge, meat, pottage, scrambled eggs, quark, everything. They'll always eat those first. But if you're very careful about your management of food and water and your wood, you can do a lot with very little in this game. But that's all I wanted to show you. You can play around with this as you like, try it out, save your game first, obviously, so you don't accidentally mess it up. Okay, I've got this one for you now. Let's talk about housing and upgrading it. So, you want to build your first house and you're not sure what to do, and you've got this building blueprint sitting here with all this wonderful coloring. Now, let me explain. What you're looking at is you're looking at the building blueprint. And while you may have built your first house by just hammering away, you can actually modify your house. I've got multiple different walls and roofs. There's a thatch roof. This is the half tile, I call it. And then this is the full tile. I've got a stone wall, a wooden wall, and a wattle wall. Now, how do I make these changes, right? How do I do this? So you go up to a wall and you press E. Now you can change what this wall is. You can make it a full wall, a window, or a doorway. There can only be one doorway per house, and each house is preset on which door is the doorway by this little thing here, so you can never move the door. But you can add a window. Let's add a wattle window. We'll build it up real quick, and I'll show you if you want to upgrade your house, what to do. So now, okay, I've got a wattle window. I want to upgrade this to have better insulation. You can do this with all three walls. All you gotta do is right click with your hammer, go to upgrade. Now wattle and wood require daub. What is daub? Daub is something that you make in the barn. It requires thatch or straw and clay. So go out there with your shovel, dig up a few clay deposits, get some straw from the reeds, and make some daub. The daub is used for both. So let's see, let's upgrade. I'll upgrade both of them and you can look at them. What does this do? This makes your villagers use significantly less wood or firewood during the winter and other cold months. That is its primary use. Now, obviously, a wooden upgraded wall is better than a wattle upgraded wall. A stone wall by itself is better than the upgraded wooden. You can upgrade stone as well, but you have to mine limestone. You mine it by going to the various rock deposits. I have lookalikes right here. You'll find deposits like these that say rock. You hit those, you get stone and limestone. They're all over the place. So let's upgrade this wall. Boom. Upgraded. Now let's say you built your, let's ignore this and say you built your entire house out of wattle and you're like, oh no, I want to build it out of something better. I want to upgrade this to wood. Right click with your hammer, go to destroy. If you have a certain skill, believe it was Master of Destruction. Here it is. If you have this skill, you can collect half of the resources when you demolish. That means I got half of the stuff required to make that wall, which will help you a lot. So let's go back to our build and let's change this from a wattle window. Let's change it to a stone window. Now the requirements have changed. We'll build it up and then we'll upgrade it. Now the same applies to the roof as well. You can change it to the thatch, which requires 8 thatch or 8 straw, 1 log. Wood, which is a half plank, which is 6 planks and 1 log, or full tile, which is like 12 and 1. So, hey, it all depends on what resources you have. If you don't have the resources to make a stone building, then don't do it. Wait till you've gathered up enough. If you want to upgrade a house, mind you, if somebody's living in the house, they will be homeless while you upgrade it. So I always build an extra house just in case. Okay, we need to talk. Sometimes I miss things in games, sometimes I just completely overlook them. When this game first came out, I thought to myself, man, this is such a big village. I wish I didn't have to do everything. And I thought, why do I have to harvest the fields? Why do I have to make all the firewood? Why can't the villagers take care of themselves? I mean, why else am I having them move here to do the work for me? If any of you have ever played any other automation game, you kind of know my feeling. The goal is to do as little as possible. Well, I am ashamed to say that I completely overlooked an entire part of this game, the automation factor. There is a way to automate production in your village. Now, this is more of an advanced tip, and I would advise you play around with this gently because I have overproduced a lot. And if you don't pay attention to what's going on, it can get out of hand. They can run out of tools, etc. But enough of that. Let me introduce you to this mechanic so you don't make the same mistake as I. Let's go to your menu and let's go to management. Then we're going to go to the house tool, the house button tool, whatever. Here you're going to find all of your buildings and you're going to find their status. For example, houses. If it has this status, it means it's broken. It needs to be fixed, which can be done by you manually, or you can get what I call a builder, which I will introduce you to one by one. I'm going to go through all these services in a very short amount of time and summarize how to automate. So we'll start with like the extraction. Let's do the woodshed. Remember I had problems with firewood? Well, I can automate that. If you open it up, you'll find who's working here and who you can assign here along with their skill level with a max being of 10. You can find the tools that they're using and how much durability it has. This is important. If they don't have tools, they can't work. So you have to craft the axes. It doesn't matter what kind, metal or stone, and you keep it in a storage. I will show you later. Right now, in the storage, I have 10 iron axes, so they won't run out anytime soon. Now, if you go to this tab here with the little hammer and the circle thingy, you're going to get to where you can automate this process. You have up to 100% work intensity. Now, you can assign this however you want. Right now, I have decided to do half of all their daily work assigned to making firewood, which will give me 115 firewood a day 40% to logs, which are 184 logs, sticks, and planks. Now, I can change this. Let's say I want to lower my log count to 0. Then they will not gather any logs. They'll work less. I don't know if this makes them happier, but I do know that you can reallocate those to other points. Now, one other use on automation. Clicking this tab here will tell you usage, production versus demand. Usage minus, plus, etc. Sticks. No demand, 34 production, etc. Okay, log. Demands, I go through 126.5 logs a day making firewood. I get 460 firewood a day. So I should raise the logs, hopefully at least until I can outproduce how much I'm using. Raise that to 25. How's that? I'm still short 126. Oh wait, those are planks. What am I doing? Oh my goodness. I had a moment there. 11. Look at that. Now I'm positive. So theoretically, I could keep my logs only at 30%. I could keep it like this and I'll still gain. So that's the true balance of the automation, is you really want to make sure that you're producing as well as consuming. The well, you can have them automatically fill water in buckets. The mine, you can mine or copper, tin, iron without ever having to actually go to the mine. Imagine only going to the mine once. Hunting logs, you can gather meat automatically as long as it has knives. Your barns and farming will be for fertilizer and processing flour and grains. The list just goes on and on. The list just goes on and on. In fact, I'll probably have to make an entire episode or an entire, I'm gonna have to make an entire episode basically on automation if I really want to go in depth on it. But I suggest you toy around with it, but be gentle with it at first until you figure out how it works. But that's about it. And I hope you guys enjoyed these. I really wished I had known about these when I first started playing, and now that I've played this game for probably over a year now, I'm just passing this knowledge on to you so that you can bypass these hardships. And if you got anything out of this, leave a like, etc., share it, show your friends, make this a good one. And hopefully I'll come back to you with the automated production video and we'll see how it goes from there. Later.